can't hate ourselves into a version of ourselves we can love. It's a really strong quote by a French artist that is still making me question, what really is the perfect, ideal version of ourselves that we are all looking for in our artistic journey? Is it the concept of perfectionism in art world? Is it the ability to craft something that is pleasing to others, to drive their attention towards you, or something that makes you more extraordinary from other artists that they can't do? With the presence of social media nowadays, artists have portrayed such a believable story and such a perfect persona of themselves, which makes us question our life and our skills as an artist, whether we get influenced by the external competition or not. The more we compare ourselves to other artists, the more we tend to think about flaws in our artwork rather than our capabilities. It's often easier said than done most of the time. To not feel that you're unworthy to choose art as a career, when all you can see is that everyone around is doing way much better than you are doing, even after years of practice. Even now, as a full-time artist, I still to this date feel that my artwork isn't good enough to be displayed in public. The idea of people looking at my artwork with a blank facial expression and feelings make me question my skill as an artist. Whether I am doing my job as an artist correctly or not, usually whenever I start my paintings, it brings a boost of confidence to me that nothing else can really bring, and maybe while in the process, I tend to overestimate my ability to create a good piece because everything's going smoothly in starting. But as the work progresses, the feeling starts to fade away, and it starts to feel more numb and numb towards my artwork. And when the painting is finally finished, it feels like it was the worst decision of my whole life to even decide to paint that picture because all I can think of is the work isn't good enough. But have you ever questioned to yourself, what are these good enough parameters you have set for yourself? Should you feel your work is good enough when you get a compliment from someone, or is it when you get 1,000 likes on its Instagram post? In reality, there is no good enough. There will always be judgment from everyone around you in every step you're gonna take, whether you are doing the right thing or not. And especially when it comes to art, it's very subjective. What you think is bad will be a beautiful thing to someone else. And the thing is, our eyes are better at noticing discrepancies on what is considered to be good or bad. So someone who's feeling that their work is never good enough should become more aware on what needs to be worked on rather than stressing about not being able to make it through as an artist. This topic to me was so intriguing that I have read many surveys on such matter, and it may sound hard to believe, but it was found out that 80% of aspiring artists have confronted with the anxiety of never becoming as good as they admire. What most people do is that they compare apples with oranges. If you're a beginner, you cannot compare to those who have spent years learning and refining their skills to be where they are today. Surely, they might have displayed a perfect portfolio or masterpieces on social media, but those paintings doesn't show the amount of hours they had to spend to develop their skills, just to get to the level they are at now. They don't show the hardships they have faced and the amount of rejection they had from people around them when they had showed them their paintings as a beginner artist. So it's really important to not think that your artwork isn't great in comparison to others, as where you are right now is great too. Learning to appreciate what you have and moving on from the point that you're standing on is way much better than feeling you're any less than others. This story I've got happened quite a while ago, while I was on my way to a small gallery in the outskirts of my town in a train. There was an old lady that was sitting alone in an empty seat that had a small mischief on her face. As I didn't know her, I just smiled and walked by. But when she had seen a glimpse of a lady's portrait I was carrying on my hand for the gallery, her facial expression was speechless. I felt like she was having a bad day before, But as soon as she had seen the painting, all the anxiety and stress she was in before was gone, as she had seen something beautiful and different that she doesn't get to see most of the days. And this is when I recalled the reason I became an artist in the first place. For me, art is a skill that can get a special facial expression on someone's face. Whether it's astonishment, nostalgia, inspired, intruded, and so on. Many, which is something I really love to capture, as it's something that most of us can't really find in our busy life. So really, trying to think and appreciate what brought you to create art in the first place would really help you. To appreciate the value you can bring with your skills as an artist, because we usually tend to forget our values when we feel that we can never be as good as others. But when you take a break and realize that there's more you can bring and there's more you can do, even if it means doing it for yourself as a personal hobby, you will see your painting in a whole new perspective, like you never had before. One of the most efficient way I've found throughout the years to improve your painting efficiency is learning from your mistakes and making goals to achieve them. Making mistakes is inevitable. Every artist, regardless of their level, has had the moment when they step back and realize something's gone wrong in their painting. And I know it's not a great feeling, but while being completely frustrated, mistakes and missteps can be a really great part of your learning too. Understanding where the problem is in your painting is really important to fix it. But if you can't find the problem, then there's nothing to worry about. If you're going for something like realism, you have to be quite efficient in observing the proportions of the image. Being able to create contrast and depth by judging the tones correctly is really important, as it brings life to the parts of the portrait. Achieving that intriguing gaze of the eyes, which somehow tells the whole story behind the painting, or being able to paint that sharp line on the side of the nose, which defines the whole structure of the portrait, is something everyone can achieve when dedication and hard work is put through with time. One of the ways you can find your mistakes is being open-minded to critique your artwork in public. Constructive critic can really play a crucial role in giving you actionable steps through a feedback around the areas that you can work on. Not only you would be able to gain some new insight of your work, but it will also help you decide whether your painting is finally finished or not, and whether there is something more you can add to it. Sometimes you would get some heartbreaking comments, but there's really no need to take all the comments personally. Some comments will maybe just be a value judgment, but while others being negative, which doesn't always give an encouraging feeling. Overall, you have the ultimate control over how you make and understand your work through those comments. Thank you all for being a part of this journey. You can subscribe to watch more content like this.